love finding old quilts in thrift stores and antique shops, especially when they're obviously one of a kind. I'm Michelle, this is my romantic tangle, and today on my way to buy chicken feed, I stopped at the thrift store, and I still can't get over what I found. This is what originally caught my eye, because it's hand-tied to within an inch of its life with green yarn. But it's not a quilt, it's big pieces of fabric that were layered with batting and tied like a quilt, but I don't think there's any piecing here. I didn't take it off the hanger and unfold it to check for sure. But if those yarn ties hadn't caught my eye, I might have missed what was hanging next to it. There were probably half a dozen unfinished quilt tops, and these were the most gloriously wonky improvisational quilt tops I have ever seen. I love them. The fabric is old. It's that 1960s, maybe 1970s, probably a polyester blend that probably would have been used for dresses or clothing, and in a pinch used for a quilt. The tops were only $7.99 each, which compared to the usual prices thrift stores in my area ask for quilt tops are not bad at all. My 17-year-old was holding the camera. I basically handed it to him and said, "Take pictures, I need to unfold these." And considering I gave him no instruction at all, he did a pretty decent job of it. I had to show you these. I have so many questions. I want to sit down with whoever cut and pieced this fabric and ask, what were you doing? Were you playing? Were you trying to deliberately make improvisational quilts? I don't know if somebody did these when these fabrics were much newer, or if someone went through an old bin of scraps and made them recently. I just have so many questions. Some of these were hand pieced, some of these were machine pieced. There wasn't a lot of care taken with the seam allowances, which I'm not being critical. I am just being fascinated by the process, and I wish I had the courage to dig into my own scraps and do something like this. One of the tops was double knit polyester. Look at the stars. Look at the colors. That is hand pieced. And that came home with me. It is at my house now. I am going to learn how to layer and tie a double knit polyester quilt because that is the one I couldn't leave behind. In hindsight, looking at these, I wish I brought home this one too. I don't know how I would quilt it. I don't know what I would do with it because these are too delicate to be utility quilts at my house. I have no problem beating up my own work with daily wear and tear, but I couldn't do it to somebody else's. I hope somebody brings these home and finishes them and has a wonderful idea for them. I may duck back into the thrift store next week to see maybe if they're still around on half price day because I love them. I have never seen anything like them. This one was with the rest, dating it by the fabric. I'm guessing that it came from the same time frame, but it seems much more organized, much more planned. The applique on the butterflies was kind of wonky, but I am amazed by these. Do quilts hold the creative energy of the quilter who made them? Now and then I will pick up a quilt that just makes me wish, like I said, I could sit down and ask questions because I love these so much. I am so glad I stopped in and got a chance to see them. And then I walked down the craft aisle, but it almost didn't matter because I was so excited by those quilts. I want to play with ribbons. This spinner bag of ribbons had a bunch of embroidery floss, and that was old. That was Anytime it has boil fast on the label, it makes me think it's from Great Grandma's era. I've got ribbon at home to play with. This was a kit in a bag, has some really pretty French knots. Judging by the thread and the French knots, I'm going to say it's crewel, and I was able to kind of manipulate it and peek enough to see the fabric and pattern were there. I think I saw something that made me think that maybe it was geisha's. Waist canvas on a sweater. I didn't know you could do that. And then this bag had some partially finished projects in it. The top wasn't sealed, so I was able to see just enough to find an old Dimensions kit in there that might have been unopened, but I'm not into 1980s teddy bears or 1990s teddy bears. Let me know what you think of the quilts. Do you love them as much as I do? Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic